Hello, my name is Danielle and welcome to my channel. Today's topic is going to be on how I reacted to getting an autism diagnosis as an adult. Let's get started. Finished with the whole evaluation process, I was kind of just waiting for them to actually finish the process. They told me it was going to take a few days, but it did take a while. There was a long wait, and it was kind of hard to wait. And then finally, I got an email from the person evaluating me that said, here is my evaluation. Here is the document. This is the report that you're going to get. This is a draft version, and I need you to look through especially the patient history in order to make sure everything looks accurate. And I was at work at the time, and I was like, okay, cool. I want to know what this person thinks. I want to know what my diagnosis is going to be. And so I opened it up immediately on my phone. Was probably a bad idea. I wasn't expecting how I was going to feel about it. It was very hard for me to read this. It started out with a patient history, and I'm reading through it, and there was a lot of mistakes. The initial intake was done via Zoom, and so there were some mistakes that were made when it came to a lot of things that I had told them. Like, for example, there was one point where it mentioned me having two siblings. I only have one. I don't know where she got this. And then later on, there were things about my identities that she split them into two words instead of one, making the context sound entirely different than I'd intended. And I remember as I was reading through this, a lot of the time I was just shocked by how this person saw me. It was so unbelievably different from how I saw myself, and I had a hard time just really making that connect with my own personal identity, my own personal self-image. And so as I was reading this, I got more and more tense. I was becoming overwhelmed, and I after I finished reading through it the first time, I didn't know how I was going to get back to work. I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to work now? How am I going to just act like everything is normal and like I'm okay when I just feel like something just exploded? I just felt so strange afterwards. There was this disconnect between my brain and my body almost, and it was really hard reading the report. The actual report wasn't the only thing that I had to adjust to, though, either. I was 100% expecting the autism diagnosis. I was so unbelievably confident that I was going to be diagnosed with autism. But there were definitely things about the diagnosis, about the report, that I wasn't expecting. For example, while I was expecting that I was going to be diagnosed with autism, and I was expecting that there was a possibility I might be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, I really wasn't expecting to be diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I had actually dismissed that as a possibility a while back because I didn't feel like I fit the diagnostic criteria for it. And yet, that was my second diagnosis, was actually generalized anxiety disorder. Additionally, I was very surprised that I was definitively not ADHD, that I definitively did not have ADHD. I was not expecting that. I was kind of expecting that either they would say, yes, you have ADHD, or we just don't know. It's not definitive. And that's really what I was expecting, to get one of the two. So to get, no, you're definitely not, you definitely don't have ADHD, I wasn't expecting it. And then the last thing I really wasn't expecting was to tell, for the person to tell me that I had an avoidant personality not disorder, avoidant personality type. And this was one was a little bit interesting because on the one side, I was surprised by it. I wasn't expecting it. But on the other side, it kind of made sense. Like, I probably talked a lot during, these sessions where they were evaluating me about avoidance behaviors that I experienced, especially dealing with things like anxiety. I do have a tendency of avoiding things when they overwhelm me or they make me anxious. So that was simultaneously not expected and something I probably should have expected. So this leaves me with, what do I do next? And this is not something that's an easy answer for anybody. It's been probably at least a month since I got my diagnosis, and I have done absolutely nothing. There were recommendations on the report on next steps I could take. One recommendation was talking to a doctor about maybe getting medication for my anxiety. Another was going to a therapist weekly, finding a support group, finding a social group of other autistic people. These are all things that were recommended as paths forward. They are not, but like I said, I do have an avoidant personality type. So these are things that are kind of hard for me. I'm a little hesitant about getting medication. I don't like taking medication, but at the same time, I do suspect that medication might be beneficial for me. It might be something that'll be helpful. I also think that therapy could be helpful, but the idea of going to therapy every single week seems too much. That seems like it would probably overwhelm me, and I don't want to do that. So I haven't done anything, and like the rest of the ideas, well, we're still in the pandemic. We're still at a point where I live, only about maybe less than half of the population has been vaccinated, and that doesn't really leave me confident to do any sort of group activities in person. And I don't do well over Zoom. I really don't think I would do well over like Zoom with a bunch of people. I mean, usually if I'm doing something like Zoom or Skype or anything like that, I'm doing it, with like one other person or a group of people on one camera. So it's not that hard to do. It's not something that I should have trouble doing, but I do. As for other steps forward, the last thing is just telling people, and I have no idea how to tell people that I'm autistic. I don't have that many people in my life, and I'm just like, I'm not sure how I want to deal with that. I'm not sure how I'm going to tell family, or if I should tell family, if I should tell coworkers or my boss. I don't really have any friends, so or especially, definitely don't have any friends that I would feel comfortable with talking to them about this. And so, one thing I've been thinking is that maybe going to therapy would help me to figure out how to deal with that, how to decide how to proceed with the possibility of telling people and really living the life that I've been given instead of trying to live the life that I thought I was given, or trying to live up to standards that maybe I can't live up to. And that's a work in progress. Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed it, consider leaving a like, and if you want to see more stuff by me, consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell if you want to get notifications. And I would like to be able to do Q&A sessions at the end of every video. So if you have a question that you would like to ask me, leave a comment with Q&A written in front of your question, and I will answer it in my next video. Until next time.